Hello everybody! I'm thrilled to announce the release of new Membrane Core version 1.2. Among many small improvements we added in this release, there is a single one that I think is especially worth sharing. Namely, support for Erlang telemetry events. From now on, Membrane Core is capable of generating telemetry event on each callback's start, end, and in case exception happens throughout callback execution. Each event is equipped with a set of metadata, which might be especially helpful if you want to debug your pipeline or gather some metrics. Possible applications of telemetry events are almost limitless. However, we decided to create an example of how you can use it. We're gonna have a very simple Phoenix application that spawns a membrane pipeline in page controller. What we want to achieve is to visualize the telemetry events in Grafana, and we will be able to do it because after a deploy of our Phoenix application with the use of Fly.io, we will have the Grafana instance and Prometheus systems for gathering metrics built in. Okay, so as you can see in our page controller, we start our membrane pipeline. And our pipeline is relatively simple because it consists only of 3 elements. We have a source, a filter, and a sink. Okay, so how to configure it? Well, first thing we need to do is to visit config.exe file, and we will need to add configuration for Membrane Core to enable generating of telemetry events. So we need to configure Membrane Core telemetry flags and specify the tracked callbacks list. We need to specify it separately for each component type. So, for instance, for element, we might track all the callbacks. For bin, we'll also track all the callbacks, and the same goes for the pipeline callbacks. Now we need to add dependencies to process our telemetry events. So we go to mix.exe file, and we're gonna add Promex, which will help us to publish our metrics via Phoenix endpoint, as well as custom plugin for Promex called Promex Membrane. Now we will download our dependency. They should be available, and we should have access to Promex generator. Promex has created a new module for us, and we need to plug our plugin here. We can get rid of other plugins and simply type membrane.promex, which is the plugin provided by Membrane Promex. We have a bunch of dashboard assigns, but we don't need them right now, so we will simply delete them. And the last thing to do is to follow the set of other configuration things that needs to be handled. So we need to visit configuration file once again and configure Promex. You can do it right behind our Membrane Core configuration. Then we need to start our Promex child in application. And the final thing to do is to configure a Promex plug, so that to create an endpoint that will serve our metrics. Okay, I think we are ready with the configuration, so we can go further. What we need to do now is to deploy our application. So first, let's start with fly launch command, which will create the fly.toml file for us. The file is already here and we need to configure it, so we already can do it. What we need to do is to specify the endpoint at which Promex serves our metrics, so that Prometheus service delivered to us by Fly.io can access that endpoint. Our metrics are served under /metrics path, and we need to provide it with an internal HTTP API port, which is, as you can see, 8080. We can deploy our application after the changes we made in fly.toml file. And now we are waiting until the deployment finishes. Okay, our application is now up and running, so we can visit it via browser. And now when we visited the page, a new pipeline should be spawned under the hood. Now we can go to Fly Metrics, which is a Grafana instance provided by Fly.io, and we can import our own dashboard, which will visualize the telemetry events from the membrane pipeline. We need to import a dashboard, which is saved in a JSON file. And we need to click import. After a second, we can see that our dashboard was created and that we have some spans available. By span, I mean the duration of each callback invocation, the time between the telemetry start event and telemetry end event. So let's inspect them. For instance, we can use some filter to show us the spans that are especially long. So for instance, we can display only these spans for which the duration is greater than 200 milliseconds. Okay, here we can see them. As you can see, the callback, which duration is that high, is membrane buffer in our filter. It lasts for 300 milliseconds or even more sometimes. This way we could, for instance, debug it, because we just found the source of our problem, that the handle buffer is taking probably too long. So we can go back to our code base and see how does the implementation of the callback handle buffer looks like in our filter. And as we can see in this very simple example, we just added some sleep command, which will randomly sleep for some time, and this is the reason why this callback lasts for that long. As you could see, using membrane telemetry events with your application deployed on Fly.io is really simple. Of course, possible applications of membrane telemetry are much broader, but the most important thing is that you have insight to your pipeline internals, and you can use it just as you wish.